Good evening. I would like to call the council meeting of July 22nd, 2019 to order, and I ask that everyone please rise for the national anthem. I would like to begin by reading a safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate the council chambers to the nearest exit through the doors and obey all instructions given. And if assistance is required, please see our clerk, Julie Kirkless. Once you've evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of the town hall. Also, the Town of Lincoln committee and council meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. I would like to thank the public for attending the meeting this evening, and I just want to remind everyone of our rules of engagement to please be respectful while others are speaking, and please refrain from clapping. I would like to read the land acknowledgement. The Shinantan people have called these lands home for thousands of years, and more recently the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee have been sharing the land as one dish, one spoon treaty territory. We would like to acknowledge the enduring resilience of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. Roll call. All of council is here this evening except Mayor Easton, who is still recovering from surgery. Staff, we have most of our staff in attendance here, as well as in the gallery on the front two rows. Item number 4 on the agenda, proclamations, we have none. Item number 5, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Reimer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brunet. I'll be declaring interest in 2 items. 17.2, 2019-74. The applicant is a friend and a client of the company I work for. Also, item 17.8, 2019-80-Z534. The applicant is a client of the company I work for.
Thank you, Councillor Reimer. Councillor Timmers.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brunet. I have one declaration regarding PD 5219, application by 1254349 Ontario Inc. My family business conducts contract work for the applicant.
Thank you, Councillor Timmers. Presentations, we have none. So we'll move right to item number 7 on the agenda, recognition and achievements. Our next item of consideration is 7.1, exemplary service bar by the Governor General of Canada in recognition of 30 years exemplary service presented to Lincoln's Fire Chief Greg Hudson, District Chief Brian Culp, and Captain Brian Cook. Canada's exemplary service medals and bars recognize all individuals who are dedicated to preserving Canada's public safety through long and outstanding service. All recipients of Canada's exemplary bar or medal have to be nominated, and a letter detailing how these individuals within the fire department have gone above and beyond for the fire service and the community, which must accompany the nomination. That said, we have over 90 years of experience in the delivery of public safety standing before us today, which highlights our excellent leadership within the fire department. I would like to welcome Fire Chief Greg Hudson to the podium to share a few remarks, and after that, as Deputy Mayor, it is my honor to provide these service bars to you tonight, as well as a photo to commemorate the recognition. Chief Hudson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It is my distinct pleasure and honor today to stand before you today to recognize a couple of our longstanding members of the department, as well as I'm actually quite humbled to be recognized as well. When asked, what's it like to be on the fire department for 30 years? And I equate it to the musical group from some of us may remember called Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So we saw, plenty of blood, plenty of sweat, plenty of tears over the years, but we also temper that with, the good feeling of, being able to help somebody in the community that really needs our help. When they call the fire department, that's normally the worst day of their lives. So we're happy to be able to help in that way. We built some very, very strong friendships over the years, and I think that's one of the motivations why I know I stayed in for 30 years. And in addition to the hard work and the satisfaction of a job well done, we had some fun doing it as well. So it's been really a tremendous period of time. 30 years really went fast, and I'm just very honored to be here. And I'd like to call upon my two colleagues, Captain Brian Cook and District Chief Brian Culp. I should note that Brian Culp and I started on the fire department on the very same day. And when we talk about 90 years of service, I think, I won't go there, sorry.
I don't have all 90. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you, Councillor. I already got all that too, yeah.
Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you. Where would you like us? Yeah, right.
Sure. You get in the middle.
Next item on the agenda is item number 8, a motion to approve council minutes. We are now considering item 8.1, the council minutes of June 17th, 2019. Do members of council have any questions or comments on this motion? Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer, seconded by Councillor Timmers, to approve the minutes of the meetings of council of June 17th, 2019. Your pleasure on the motion? And that is carried. Item number 11, the recommendations from standing committees. We will now be considering items 11.1 through 11.5. Do members of council have any questions or comments regarding these minutes? Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and my comment is with the 11.4, the Community Services and Infrastructure Committee minutes of July 10th, and it's specifically with regards to Report CS-13-19, proposed parkland naming for Serena Park. And before I make any comments, I first of all, or my comments, I first want to make sure that that we acknowledge the very generous contributions made by the Lincoln Rotary Club in support of the bike and skate park track planned for this park. And in no way do my comments reflect on that contribution. So where I do have issue and do not support the committee minutes is more in the process of the park naming. And we had very good commentary, or very vibrant discussions around this at the committee meeting, so I don't want to go into all of those, but really the issue that I take with what was in the report is that we are a long way down the road, as I see it, in the naming process. In that, we've got a new park name referenced right in the report. We've also got a memorandum of understanding with the service group involved in the report. And not only that, but we had the service group's executives invited to the committee meeting. So for me, that's naming the park. And that's just the way I understand it, I take it. It's very difficult when you get to that point to change the name of the park. I would have much rather seen an open process that would not have a name in the report, would allow for public input, and then we could add that name as a potential name in the whole process. So I feel as though we've not followed the naming process that was laid out in 2005, in that we've added a memorandum of understanding, and we've also obviously made known to the executive that this park is going to be potentially named after their organization. So that's where I stand on it. So I just wanted to let you know, Mr. Chair, that I'm not going to support those minutes. Thank you.
So, Madam Clerk, can I ask you, based on Councillor McPherson's comments, do we need to remove the minutes from the community services and vote on those separately?
Sure. So through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor McPherson, you have a couple of options. We could do a recorded vote on that item as it went to committee. So you could do a recorded vote on that item. So right now, that showed as moved by Councillor Timmers and the rest carried. So if you wanted to pull that, we can do so. I've already got the paperwork ready for that. Or what you can do is separate out the minutes, and we can move the minutes without that item and then vote on that separately if you like. It's up to you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I really have no interest in pursuing another vote. We voted that evening, and I really don't see the need to vote again. I just wanted to make it clear as to why I wasn't supporting those minutes, and we'll let the process continue. Thank you.
So we'll go through the motion, and we can show that Councillor McPherson voted against it.
Thank you, Clerk. So I have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Michalak, to approve the following recommendations from standing committees. The Committee of the Whole Workshop Minutes of June 25th, 2019, the General Business and Finance Committee Minutes of July 8th, the Committee of the Whole Workshop Minutes of July the 9th, the Community Services and Infrastructure Committee Minutes of July the 10th, and the Planning and Economic Development Committee Minutes of July the 15th. Your pleasure on the motion. Those against? Thank you very much. Item number 12 on the agenda, reports of municipal officers. And we are now considering item 12.1, the regional councillor update. Councillor Foster, welcome. Please come to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. You look good up there, by the way. I have a few things I want to talk about this evening, things that have been going on at the region, and hopefully won't take too much of your time. First, I want to talk about road and traffic safety. You know, as those of you that served with me on this council before knew, very much an advocate of improvements to road and traffic safety within our communities. A number of things are going on now at the regional level. As had been stated in my last meeting I was at, we've changed the speed limit on Ontario Street. There is going to be, in my opinion, we need to be doing a much more comprehensive review of Ontario Street with the increase in traffic that's going to be expected going in and out of the municipality with the two main subdivisions coming online. We have to make sure that that road is done appropriately, or at least looked at once again. For certain, I have been receiving calls about potential left-hand turning lanes, et cetera, that need to be seriously considered. So I'm going to be making sure that I'm bringing that forward at the regional level, as it is a regional road, and going from there. We passed at our Public Works Committee and then subsequently at Council a community safety zone going into effect in Vineland now, and that's basically in and around the school. Of course, what that does, and it's the same thing for the ones that we have within the Lincoln community elsewhere, is that it's another tool for police for enforcement, adding a little bit of extra in on top if people are driving inappropriately. We're going to study red light cameras, and I think this is long overdue. On a personal level, spent a lot of time, as most of you know, in BC over the last number of years. They make heavy use of red light cameras, and I'll tell you, people stop. They, you know, and that's the important thing. You do not see people running lights in that particular, or out there. I happen to think that they work well in every jurisdiction that I have read about. They have proven to be successful. Because we're studying it, and it's a typical political speak, I guess, we have to figure out where we're going to put money in the future with this. So each one of those lights, if they go in, is going to cost approximately $30,000. I've outreached to staff already, and I've said if they want to do pilot projects, for sure, I think Victoria and Highway 81 in Vineland is an obvious logical choice. As Councillor Pachariva mentioned to me, there's some potentials within the Beamsville area as well, but anyway, I happen to think that particular intersection is probably one of the most dangerous in Niagara region. At least it's proven to be over the years, so I would like to see something done there. Waste collection. I really, on a personal level, I don't have a lot of concerns at this point in time. There's the occasional issue that we have going on. Councillor Pachariva and myself have been working on some recycling pickup that has not been taken care of appropriately. I got a phone call today from a fellow on 8th down in the East End, talking about the fact that they did not do a full collection this past Friday. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but certainly there was recycling missed in the East End. There's a couple of strange things about the Jordan Station and the Louth area. I sometimes think the people that are out doing the work are far too much looking at their GPS and not understanding where our town really is. So just because it's our number 1 St. Catharines doesn't necessarily mean that it's not Lincoln. So anyway, I'm working with the region on that to make sure. But I will say, and I hope Councillor Petrieva found that as well, senior staff are very good at the region when it comes to this, and they're highly sensitive around the entire waste management issue right at the moment. So if you have any problems or whatever, you know, get a hold of me and I'll make sure that I raise it with appropriate staff. Just to let you know, the RFP for waste management is going to be going out very soon. That particular document has been looked at quite thoroughly for some time. Lots of input from communities. In fact, like our particular community on the website on surveys was very active in their views on it. There are going to be, with the RFP, options that are going to be considered for the people that are bidding on it. So anyway, so hopefully that is going to work out well in the long run. If we think we have problems here in Lincoln, go to Fort Erie or go to Thorold. I'm sure Mr. Kirkopoulos has been speaking to the CAOs in those communities, and waste management is top of mind in all of those areas. Has just been not a good thing. So, Budget 2020. Suffice it to say, at the regional level, it's going to be a tough year coming up. There's a tremendous amount of capital that I talked about with this council back when we were dealing with the 2019 budget. There's at least 120 million that we're starting with that's going to have to be debt financed around a variety of things. We had quite a discussion at both committee and also at the last council meeting about how we're developing budgets. And I just want to say, having been a member of this council for as long as I was, I really like the way that we developed budgets here. They're bottom up. They're basically coming to us with staff saying, if you want to run your programs and if you want to do all of these things that you've got, this is what it's going to cost, okay? So, as a for instance, it's all very well and good for people to be talking about Niagara Region taking over management of airports, but it's going to cost a lot of money to go and do that. I mean, we're talking millions. So the question is, what's the cost, how it's going to be absorbed? We got to make sure this is all laid out and understood as we enter into the budget process. So, as I say, it's one thing to talk about all the great things that we can do, but it's a whole other thing to really understand what the effect on the taxpayer is going to be. And by the way, it led to quite an interesting discussion. I think St. Catharines Standard briefly reported on it. They were talking about which methodology is best to go and calculate and move forward and stuff like that. To me, it's all irrelevant, and I stated that in the meeting. It's no, we're going to go and we're going to build this from the bottom up. So we shall see how it goes. It's going to be a fascinating budget year at the region. And just the last note, I'm on a committee at Niagara Region to look at celebrating 50 years of the Niagara Region. So, and it's the same thing here in the town of Lincoln next year, of course, 50 years of the town of Lincoln. So at the tender age of 40, Niagara Region had a celebration where they did a gala dinner And of course, basically the entire region was invited type of thing. Anyway, just to let you know with that, I'm going to be also recommending that the region keeps in contact with committees at the local municipalities as well, because we don't want to be running into the typical everybody's scheduling things for the same day type of thing. So, and I think there's some good things can be done and followed through with all of us. So, and that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. I do appreciate you sending in your subject matter and what you wanted to speak to earlier. It always makes it easier to know, what you're going to speak about. So I do appreciate that, and I do appreciate the fact that you are holding true to your word that 9 months ago you said you would come back to this council and be a pipeline from the region to this council, and it is very much appreciated. I will just go around the council chambers very quickly and ask if anyone has any questions while Regional Councillor Foster is at the podium. Councillor Timmers.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Foster, for coming in, and I really appreciate this. I'm very happy to see that, but I did make I had some questions, and believe it or not, I hit most of those points, so I was prepared. I just wanted to talk about Ontario Street, the speed decrease. I was down there last night, and it's still a speedway. So in your report, you said that there could be some other things that could happen along there. Can you just elaborate what kinds of things we could do to slow it down?
Okay, first of all, again, I have a two-part thing with road and traffic safety, and it's also traffic safety that probably is more important to me when it's all said and done. Certainly what we have with that development from the railway tracks down to the highway is it was originally intended to move vehicles quickly and move them out of the municipality. I was on the committee with the town. Bob Kelly was involved with it way back when. Wayne McMillan was as well. When we were talking with the region about it, I think, Dave, I'm not sure if you were involved with that way back when, but anyway, we wanted a different style of road than what it is that we were given. And the whole idea was with the development that's going on out through there, with the industrial on both sides, with moving down the road with restaurants, etc. What we had really wanted was something where you can easily be making left turns off of the thing. And right now, I think you take your risks as you're going along with it right now for the most part. So that's the type of area that I'm going to be investigating further. And something, now's the time to do it, or now's the time to look at it, because like you guys for sure, and I know me as well, when these subdivisions are coming online and when there's more and more traffic, we're going to be hearing the mantra again, that the traffic is not flowing appropriately. So anyway, that's why I'm going down the road with that.
No, I'm really pleased to hear that.
Yep.
And I just have another question, Mr. Chair, regarding the red light cameras. I'm really happy to hear that Victoria and number 8 are identified. It truly is a very dangerous intersection. So I really hope that that's a priority. But I also think King and Ontario Street could also warrant. I know they're expensive, but I'm just putting that out there, so.
Thank you, Julie. I'm trying to figure out, should I be pushing something? My suggestion was if they're looking for pilot situations, I thought the King and Victoria was appropriate. Really, there's many good instances here in the Lincoln area where it's going to be appropriate. Let's even think through what's going to be happening in Jordan when 19th and King get reconstructed down through there. There's going to be a light at that intersection too. So that particular one will make perfect sense to even incorporate that when that gets developed. So, but don't forget that right now, and again, we have to sometimes do our political speak. The whole thing around doing the study is trying to figure out who's going to be the manufacturer and what it's going to cost us and how we're actually going to roll this thing out. So, and I'm hoping sooner than later, so.
Well, I am as well, but
Yep.
thank you very much for coming in tonight. Thank you, Mr.
Thanks.
Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Timmers. Councillor Patriva.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brunet. Rob, thanks for coming in. Thanks for help with that cardboard issue last week in the downtown. Just a couple questions with respect to community safety zone. Any thoughts of establishing one on Mountain Street in Beamsville? I don't think there's one there. I was trying to rack my brain thinking about it. We've got a school crossing there, but I don't think there's a community safety zone, and it is a regional road.
My understanding is it has the reduced speed through there with the lighting systems that they've got. So the nice thing about a community safety zone is that it essentially doubles the fines if people are caught. If it's the will of council that would be appropriate, I'd be more than happy to lead that at the region to have done. Those particular items, and I'm going to say this guardedly, are relatively easy to do, okay? But the question is, what are we going to go and solve with this? Like, because there's been a whole sequence of things that have gone into place right now. So if there's still significant safety concerns at this particular point in time, sure, it might be appropriate, and it might be appropriate to add just an extra tool into the tool set for our law enforcement. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I know Councilor Brunet and I talking with Detective Orlando was saying that that's unfortunately, that's a defense, is that, well, the light wasn't flashing when I was going by. So the establishment of this community safety zone takes that out of effect, doubles the fines, and, 80% of the people speeding in these areas are the residents, right? And they're not paying attention, and they're looking at their phone, and they're doing whatever. Like, these are community safety zones are, high-risk areas with children and things going on. So I would appreciate that. And just a little bit on the red light cameras. Been listening to the radio as I drive, and they were saying, and I don't know if it was in the regional report, that if it's looped in with the city of Toronto that already has their red light cameras, they do the monitoring, the cost drops dramatically, so you could extend out the numbers of cameras. Any thoughts on that, Rob?
Well, I haven't heard that, but I think that's a great idea. I think this is what we're all going to be up against when it comes to regional government, municipal governments, and I mean, let's make the assumption that the provincial government doesn't come in and blow everything up and, we're all outside looking for new jobs type of thing, right? I think with all of this, municipalities have to be working together more. We see that with the fire and rescue groups, the joint work that's done between municipalities. But I think we need to be looking even further with some of these things. I mean, they're giving positivity to the provincial government. They're trying to make sure that government is not too expensive, and government is expensive. We all know that. So now, how do you formulate? How do you do it? How do you work together with other municipalities? How do you work even within the region to go one step further? I got to tell you, the regional planning, for instance, and I'm sure Mr. Bruder and would love it being down there, but they got a lot of people doing stuff down there, and the thing is that what value add are they doing with things? Are they also looking at the same stuff that Mr. Bruder and his staff are looking at? So, why not be doing some combination of things in some of these areas type of thing? So this is the big picture stuff that we're all going to have to be looking at as municipal councillors. And I mean, we should be doing it anyway. Like we should be making things as efficient as we possibly could. And I give full credit to your CAO and to senior staff. I know that they're always in those discussions to try and see how we can make these things work better, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patriva. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, good to see you, Rob, and good to see you out here on a consistent basis. Couple of kudos. Great to see the speed sign on Rural Road 81 in Jordan, and a very, very good speed sign, you know, as far as the posted speed and the speed you're going. So I know there was a number of complaints coming out of that area, and you've reacted to it. My only question on that is, so it's set up today going westbound. We're gonna throw it on the other side of the road and go eastbound for the eastbound traffic, because they tend to come flying out of that hollow, and that'd be great if we could just throw it across the road and see what the speeds are like. The waste contract, glad you mentioned it. I happened to be at the end of the driveway this week and spoke to the driver, and kind of got because they had delayed till the next day the pickup of actually the cans and bottles. So, you know, he gave me the lowdown on, you know, that, you know, they've still got, with this new contractor, shortage of people. They've got trucks that they've purchased used, and now they need to go through for repair. So it seemed to be good for a period of time when we first got it, and now it just seems to be, you know, a few more little hiccups here and there that you wonder if, you know, they just busted their butts to really do a good job early, and now these used trucks are starting to surface, and they gotta get them in the shop, and now they don't have enough. So just food for thought on that item. And lastly, Mr. Chair, I look forward to working with you, Rob, on a couple of the key items that the region's involved in, focusing on completing the pumping stations at Bridgeport and the pumping station in Victoria Shores. That I know there's challenges there, but I think we've got to keep that a high level of awareness with them, and so, you know, appreciate you keeping that, you know, front of mind with everybody at the region, and so that we can move those projects through, because, you know, they're certainly dependent on those upgrades to the pumping stations. So thanks for what you're doing.
A couple of quick comments through you, Mr. Chair. Regarding infrastructure, one of the things that I'm doing as well, and in amongst coming and speaking with you as well, I have a regular meeting with Mr. Kirkopoulos as well. I also make outreach when it's appropriate into your senior staff to talk about various issues that are going on. I learned long ago, I'm not the one that does the work. These senior guys are the ones that do the real work. Mm-hmm. Even you, Mr. Kirkopoulos. So it's, but the thing is that what I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm on top of these things as well. Yes, and both of those have been understood to be a major issue. But I also understand too that we're moving in the right direction with both. So again, like, you know, my job down there is to just make sure it's top of mind, and I totally agree with you.
Good.
Concerning garbage, to actually make a good pun, it's a mess. Suffice it to say that I have been in multiple closed session meetings, dealing with lawyers, dealing with you know, all sorts of HR issues, et cetera, that are going on with this stuff. So it's not a pretty picture right at the moment. So we've been fortunate. The group has come into play. I also don't think it's a coincidence that last week was probably one of the hottest and one of the nicest weeks that we've had in a long time, based on the spring of complete flooding, if you want to call it that. So again, when staff aren't showing up or whatever the case may be, you know, it causes problems and it causes ripples. So as I'm saying, the Emterra that is dealing with the rest of Niagara has significantly more problems, and I'm receiving emails on a daily basis on what's happening with those things. So, and again, like, I appreciate this council and the various council members. If there are problems in your area, you know, you guys get a hold of me. It's great. And so I'm able to stick handle that for you down there, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. Councillor Michalak.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Councillor Foster. Just great discussion here, and it's great having you to, you know, hear our concerns and give us these updates periodically. I received that phone call from the concerned resident up in the East End, up over the hill, and I appreciate you recognizing that. I want to thank you for recognizing that and hopefully making the effort that's required to address those concerns. And should I speak to that resident again in the future, I will acknowledge that to him as well, that you are concerned and you are making an effort. And that's all. I'd just like to say thank you for acknowledging that concern.
Problem, Councillor Michalak, and just to let you know, I mean, I spoke with him for about a half hour this morning on the issues going on down there, and you know, then again, like all of us look bad with this when these particular services aren't working. I mean, 4% of our tax bills are going to pay for waste management, so it's a lot of money, and we want it to work right, so.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. We do appreciate, we had a lot of dialogue, you know, as we came into this term about having you come back to this committee, and we do appreciate your hard work. So thank you very much for coming this evening.
Okay, thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Reimer to receive and file the update from Regional Councillor Foster on July 22nd, 2019. Your pleasure on the motion? And that is carried. Item number 13, notice of motion, we have none. Item number 14, the motion to receive and file correspondence, we have none. Item number 15, the motion to receive and file council information packages. We are now considering items 15.1 through 15.5. Due to the size of these information packages, they can be found online for your review on our website. Please be advised that some of the members of council and staff might have a few comments. So Councillor McPherson will speak to an item received late Friday, July 19th, pertaining to the Town of Fort Erie resolution regarding whistleblowing policy, and then I will ask our CAO to add a brief update to follow. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will be very brief. And it just, you know, when reading these correspondence, this one jumped out at me as, you know, why are the municipalities bringing on these whistleblowing policies? You know, what are they? And do we need to consider such a policy here in Lincoln? So, you know, did just a little bit of research on the policies, and not to get into all the detail, but really is basically what it sounds like, that there's an opportunity for our employees to call out a issue without any repercussions. So, you know, I think it makes sense for us to at least have some dialogue around that. If we need to bring on such a policy, so be it, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to at least table it here at council, and I would ask Mr. CAO if you could make comment with regards to this policy.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to the councillor, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak about any proposed whistleblower policy. I'll start by, I think, highlighting that any proposed whistleblower policy or change to policy really is done in the public interest to maintain enhanced public confidence and public trust. You've heard me talk about that in the past. You've heard the senior management talk about the importance of public trust and public confidence. And some of the things we've done and that typically go together with whistleblower bylaws and whistleblower policies, our code of conduct. So we have updated our code of conduct, and I think that's a good step forward. So in looking at a proposed whistleblower policy, and Councillor McPherson is correct, it really serves three purposes: to protect the public interest by providing a process to deal with serious wrongdoings. It protects the informant from any reprisal, and it protects the public and the town similarly from any frivolous or vexatious disclosures. So typically when such a policy, such a bylaw is brought forward, it is meant in a lot of ways to protect both sides, but it does provide an opportunity to discuss things. It does provide an opportunity for employees to make disclosures of a serious wrongdoing. You know, I don't want council to think that we haven't tried to support such an environment already, but I will definitely look at amending any of our policies, whether it be our code of conduct, to include such a provision like a whistleblower policy or a whistleblower amendment. So definitely a good suggestion. A lot of municipalities are moving in that direction.
Thank you, Mr. CO. Councillor McPherson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and that's fine. That's really all I was trying to accomplish tonight, was to just get it on the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I would request now that the clerk please speak to receive correspondence on June 21st in the council information package, item 15.2, pertaining to the Niagara Region resolution regarding the notice of passing of bylaw to amend bylaw 112-2013, being a bylaw to protect children and vulnerable persons from exposure to outdoor secondhand smoke, triple majority requirement. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brunet. This item was sent on June 21st by the regional clerk, requesting that local area municipal councils adopt the resolution and advise regional clerk no later than July 31st of this month. This resolution will include the amendments found in the consultation recommendations section of the report, PHD 09-2019, that will, if adopted, come into force and effect on August the 1st, 2019. I've circulated the information to council earlier. However, I'll briefly touch on the amendments being proposed. And it's the inclusion of tobacco, cannabis, and vaping, expanding the prohibit places of use to include 9 meters from entrances and exits of public buildings, municipal regional recreational trails, municipal regional beaches, and exclusions to the bylaw include highways, road allowances, abutting a regional or municipal property, municipal sidewalks, designated parking areas, and right-of-ways. So those are the amendments from the consultation recommendations being put forward, and the motion is before you this evening, what we are looking to pass here and pass it on to the region of Niagara.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before I read the motion, is there any questions regarding what the clerk just read in terms of the substance to it? Seeing none, we have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson and seconded by Councillor Michaluk. Be it resolved that Council for the Town of Lincoln consents to the passage of bylaw 2019-52 of the Regional Municipality of Niagara, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 112-2013, a regional bylaw to protect children and vulnerable persons from exposure to outdoor secondhand smoke. Your pleasure on the motion. And that is carried. Councillor McPherson.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you very much, and I have one other that I apologize, didn't bring it up prior to the meeting and don't expect a response tonight, but I think we need to again table this one, and it's with regards to cannabis again. And it was in the July 1st to 5th correspondence from the City of Brantford, and it speaks to the Large Urban Mayors Caucus of Ontario, their resolution on retail cannabis stores, and it really talks to the distance between schools and things like that, that the large urban mayors have put out, and several communities have accepted this. So I think the fact that we have accepted retail cannabis into our town, I think this is appropriate, that maybe our staff can come back with a recommendation against this particular correspondence. Through you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. I think it's a great point, and I think our CEO would like to say a few words.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to the councillor. The councillor's correct. LUMCO, which is the acronym for the Large Urban Mayors Caucus of Ontario, did bring a recommendation forward that effectively looks at regulatory controls, and I think it's a good foundation for the zoning work that we are doing, and I see Associate Director Bruder nodding his head. I think it is something that we want to review, and just very briefly, it does look at retail cannabis stores. It provides municipalities with an unrestricted ability to control the location of retail cannabis through zoning, as well as limit the concentration and number of retail stores in any one municipality. As you highlighted, Councillor, it also looks at minimum distance separation between retail stores, some clearly defined sensitive land use issues, and land use items, whether that be schools, daycare centers, colleges and universities, community centers, nursing homes, et cetera, as well as looking at some of the revenue and a different formula that LUMCO is recommending municipalities partake in. So definitely something that staff can go back and look at in a more detailed way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's great.
Councillor Pachariva.
Thanks, through you, Deputy Mayor Bernay. Just a follow-up to the regional outdoor secondhand smoke bylaw, that when that passes, I would recommend that we develop some protocols for town events going forward. This year at Canada Day, there was, we had a couple bylaw officers there, but there was smoking going on. It's limited right now at Charles Daly Park to the parking lot. It wasn't taking place. So we need to develop some protocols on what to do if this happens. The bylaw officers should be brought in with walkie-talkies on with the staff and how to do this going forward at all of the town events. Canada Day, Touch a Truck, you name it. We've got staff that can enforce this. You try to do it yourself and you're told to you-know-what. So if we have staff to do it and we have the teeth in the bylaw, then we should be proactive and adopt this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So we have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor Russell to receive and file the following council information packages. Council information package for June 14th, 2019, Council information package for June 21st, 2019, Council information package for June 28th, 2019, the package of July the 5th, and the Council information package of July the 12th, 2019. Your pleasure on the motion. And that is carried. Motion to consider confidential items, we have none. Motion to approve bylaws. We have 17 bylaws this evening, with some members having a pecuniary interest. We will separate out those bylaws for approval. So there will be there will be three separate motions. So the first motion, I have a motion moved by Councillor Rinjema and seconded by Councillor Russell, that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2019-73, the bylaw to exempt lands in Vista Ridge Phase 1 subdivision from part lot control. 2019-75Z533, the zoning bylaw amendment for 534754 Holdings Limited. 2019-76, to authorize a site plan agreement with Peter Thomas Bosma. 2019-77, the bylaw to authorize the execution of a community improvement plan agreement with Cave Spring Cellars Limited. 2019-78, the bylaw to authorize the execution of a community improvement plan agreement with Phelps Homes Limited. 2019-79, the Heritage Restoration and Improvement Grant Program. 2019-81, the amendment to traffic and parking for Cherry Heights. 2019-82, the amendment to the traffic and parking for stop sign locations in Cherry Heights. 2019-83, to authorize the execution of Heritage Grant Agreement with James and Mary Jane Davison. 2019-84, the bylaw to authorize the execution of a community improvement plan agreement with 2612869 Ontario Inc. 2019-85, authorize a site plan agreement with 2410002 Ontario Inc., Block 118. 2019-86, to authorize a site plan agreement with 2410002 Ontario Inc., Block 119. And finally, 2019-87-Z535, the zoning bylaw amendment for Prudhoms. Your pleasure on the motion. And that is carried. As Councillor Reimer has declared an interest regarding these two bylaws, we will now consider these bylaws separately. So we have a motion moved by Councillor Russell and seconded by Councillor Rinjema that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2019-74, to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Up Cannabis Niagara Inc. and Corneef Produce Limited, and 2019-80 Z534, the zoning bylaw amendment for Chester Kowalik. Your pleasure on the motion. And that is carried. As Councillor Timmers has declared an interest regarding these following two bylaws, we will now consider these two bylaws separately. So we have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor Rinjema that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2019-88, the official plan amendment for 1254349 Ontario Limited, and 2019-89 Z536, the zoning bylaw amendment for 1254349 Ontario Limited. Your pleasure on the motion. Those against? And that is carried. Number 18 on the agenda, we have a motion to confirm proceedings of the council meeting. We have a motion moved by Councillor Michalak, seconded by Councillor McPherson, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 2019-90, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Monday, July 22nd, 2019, being read a first, second, and third time, and that bylaw number 2019-90 be enacted and passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Your pleasure on the motion, and that is carried. Number 19, announcements by members. Do members have any announcements they wish to make? Counselor Patriva.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brunet. Last Thursday night, there was Ashby Park PIC that was held, Thursday, July 18th, and was in our ward, Ward 2, and I didn't receive an invitation for it. So to ensure that this doesn't happen again, my suggestion going forward is that any PICs, and the crazy thing about it was, I saw it on Facebook, I posted it on my Facebook page, I retweeted it, but in the morning, I get up, I look at my daytime, or I look at my Outlook calendar, I see what's in there. So I would suggest going forward that any PICs happening within the town, it's my suggestion that all PICs scheduled by staff are sent to all of council, and that staff send clerks a list of the PICs, and that clerks will ensure council is invited through their Outlook calendars. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Timmers.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brunet. I have two announcements. We have the third annual Lincoln Soapbox Derby is coming, and that's a very exciting event, and it's going to be happening August 10th at Great Lakes Christian High School from 10 to 3. Racers age are 7 to 13, and I think there's still some spots for Little Rascals. So I just want to put that out there. So again, it's August 10th. And also this Saturday at the Beamsville Legion, they're having a great big fundraiser with all the proceeds going to McNally House. There's going to be music, barbecue, and a raffle. And that's going to be from 6 till 10. So all to a very worthy cause. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Timmers. Counselor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just to communicate that the business walks have started in town, and I think most of the councilors, if not all the councilors, have participated in a business walk over the last week or two, but the business walks are out knocking on our, probably more of our smaller businesses' doors, and are saying hello, and we're here to help, and doing a short survey with the businesses. And the one that I attended was very well received, both from a positive standpoint that we're out there, and also we heard some things that we need to do some work with, which is a good thing too, that we're hearing things that are not sitting well with some of our businesses, and that we need to react to. So just to communicate that out, that it's not just here in the Beamsville area. We're doing them in Vineland. We're out in Jordan as well over the next month or so doing these business walks. The other announcement is that the BIA is working with Digital Main Street, and as we have some resources here in town now that are working on government grants that are out working with our business community to help them improve their digital presence, and to make their social media stronger, to make their website stronger, to try to drive business growth through that initiative. So the two individuals that are involved, and again, this is townwide, this is the BIA being here in Beamsville is one individual, and then the other individual is doing the rest of the town. So another initiative that is just out to help our small businesses grow. So just wanted to make those two announcements. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Russell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Actually, Councilor McPherson really touched on what I was going to say. The business walks, or business walk that I participated in was great. I wanted to thank all the staff that were involved with that, Mr. Blue, Mr. Deanne for putting it together, Alicia as well for participating in ours. I've actually gotten a few calls from other small businesses that weren't touched on and that would like to be participants in either a future walk or maybe just a follow-up session somewhere down the road. But I think it's a great initiative that response was very positive on our short but hot and heated walk. But again, we would like to hopefully see this as a regular event from our standpoint. So again, thank you for all those who were involved.
Thank you, Counselor. Seeing no other, I'll just make a couple of comments. I received an email from Mayor Easton late this evening. Hello, Tony. I passed my 3 weeks test today, 3 more on the walker, and strict precautions. My regards to everyone. Many thanks, Sandra. Secondly, I want to thank Julie. Running a council meeting is a little bit different than a regular committee meeting as chair, so I want to thank her for all her guidance and sending me about 6 different scripts today. Thank you very much. And finally, my ward mate, Councillor Pat Shariva, will be celebrating for the 20th time his 38th birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday. So I have the last item on our agenda, item number 20, motion to adjourn. I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Reimer that council on Monday, July 22nd be adjourned. Your pleasure on the motion, and that is carried.